to you guys, I guess, a little bit about the Marine Lab and what we do here, and a little bit of the history. I'm a lecturer and I coordinate the Marine Lab. I've been here since 1999. I actually grew up here in Bowling Green, went to high school here, and went to college. Actually, it goes back even further than that. My parents met at BGSU. They were students here. And then my brother, I have a twin brother, we both went to college here, and he got a master's and then left to Cincinnati, and I stayed around. Got a master's and a doctorate from BGSU. I left, tried to leave for a while, went to North Carolina as a professional aquarist at the North Carolina State Aquarium on Roanoke Island. Came back for my master's and then doctorate, and here we are. But a little bit about the lab itself. I was actually a psychology major until about my senior year here, except I was spending all my time scuba diving. I'd go down to the Caribbean, to Grand Cayman, and scuba dive once a year, and some of the other quarries around here, and just spend all my time reading about corals and coral ecology and building immaculate reef aquariums. I lived in an apartment with my brother and two other guys, and it was just every inch of wall space had aquariums on it. So they were all reef aquariums. I had octopus, that was sort of my background, and I just decided, before I graduated with my psychology degree, I'm like, well, what am I doing? I'm interested in marine biology, aquariums, and scuba diving. So changed my major, took me a little extra time, but I graduated. And then, as I said, I went to North Carolina, worked as a professional aquarist, and then came back and was my other degrees. So they hired me here in 1999, and the program's grown a lot. I see. When I was here, the Marine Lab's been around a long time. It's been around since the early '60s. I didn't create the Marine Lab. A woman by the name of Cindy Stahl created it. Right here, this is a more recent picture of her. Here she is. She didn't age all that much, and she's still actually around. I knew her sons real well growing up, and she, back in the early '60s, went on a field trip, brought back some animals in pickle jars from the ocean, and they survived, and she put them in these crazy-looking aquariums. Like, they didn't have the aquarium technology that we have now. Like, they didn't, underground filter didn't exist. So they had these elaborate trash cans, and they didn't have pumps or power heads or any of that. So they used an air pump and just siphon. I have to show you. I should have thrown it. If I had more time, I would have thrown up a picture of that. The setup they had, the aquariums they had were pretty crazy looking, but they worked, and these animals lived. Next year, she went on another trip, brought back more animals, more and more and more, and it just grew up to what you see there today. See, when I was in the program, there was probably about, this is in the 90s, there was probably like 20 people in it or so, and then I took over the lab in '99, and there was still about 20 people, and it started to grow a little bit over the years, and then at about 2008, so we probably had about 40 people in the program, and Mike McKay's he's a professor here. We wrote the specialization so these guys can get their marine biology, because it usually used to be a biology degree with a concentration in marine biology, but now it actually says it on their transcript, the specialization in marine biology. And since then, the program has been growing and growing and growing, and now we've got about 200 people in the program. Here in the middle of Ohio, we have 200 marine biology students. A lot of them will graduate to become professional aquarists. Some of them want to work for U.S. Fish and Wildlife or National Marine Fisheries. Some of them go to graduate school and become some kind of research scientist or professor. What are you guys going to do? Actually, I want you guys to introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Alexa Kennedy. I'm a senior in marine biology here. And every semester I think my plans have changed, but as of right now I want to work in coral conservation because they're the most biodiverse habitat on the planet and they're the most endangered right now.
I'm Tori Hunter. I'm technically a junior right now, but I'm graduating in December. And I would like to become an aquarist.
I'm Katie Neumeyer. I'm a senior
here. Marine biology is my major, and after I graduate in the next couple of weeks, I want to be a aquarist.
So so when I started, you know, I built that shark tank and the big touch tank and a lot of the other systems, built the reef tanks and so forth. And I spent all my time up there keeping these tanks immaculate. And I decided after a while, I realized that I was the only one learning anything. So I completely turned it over to the students, which is actually harder to do than you think, to have other people do your stuff for you. Because, you know, like tweaking a protein skimmer is easy. You know, you just go up and tweak it a little bit, come back, check on it in an hour. But teaching somebody else to do that is so much harder to do. But I've been very fortunate, very lucky. The students are highly motivated. In fact, I encourage them to tear the systems apart. They do frequently tear them apart, replumb them, put them back together, make improvements. And so that's part of the learning process. It's part of how they learn how to plumb and how to do all that other stuff. So things are just continuously changing up there. And they're all highly motivated. They're around a lot. They do. It is a very large, cumbersome program because there's so many people in now. And so coordinating it, and I put a lot of it onto them, and they've done a fantastic job doing so. But Cindy's still around. She's in touch with all of her alums. So she's been doing this since, you know, I don't know what she started as a professor, but mid-50s. But she kept in touch with all of her alums. She knows, you know, their kids, what operations they've had, and the kids' names, and she visits them still today. And she's also very good at raising money. So she and her alums rose a lot of money for a scholarship fund that these guys apply for, and they use it to take trips and take classes to somewhere near the ocean. It's actually a requirement of our program is to take a field course at the ocean, and so that helps to bring some of those costs. So yeah, here's Cindy. Now, she actually came back, and BGSU was so happy with her. They gave her an honorary doctorate. She had a master's degree from University of Boston. She was associated with Woods Hole, Massachusetts. But she never had a doctorate. But they were so happy with her. It was a big ordeal. She came back and accepted that award. A couple of her alums that are accomplished: Frank Baru, GM of Discovery Cove, Lynn Funkhauser. Did you guys meet her? Some of you guys met her. This lady comes back. She's a diver. I don't know how old she is, but she graduated in '64, but she still dives in Fiji and takes these unbelievable pictures, usually for calendars and for other stuff like that. But yeah, she still comes back. And, she used to send us a calendar every year. She did send one this year, didn't she? Hey, come on in.
How long do you need here?
Do you need the room?
I'm just asking how long you need it for?
Oh, maybe another 20 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
That's right. In 2010, there's been a number of awards given to a lot of our graduates. Here's Bill Evans. I want to show you this guy. He passed away a few years ago, but he was one of the biggest supporters of our program and probably one of the main reasons why the Marine Lab's still here and as well known as it is. He was a BGSU graduate, but he didn't graduate he wasn't in the Marine Biology program. He graduated in '53. Got his master's from Ohio State. And then he did some other stuff with the U.S. Army, and then he started getting into acoustics and sound, and he was into he was a physicist. He was into physics, and he started getting into dolphin song or whale song and dolphin signature whistles and that kind of thing. And so it was all acoustics. And he eventually became the U.S. delegate in the International Whaling Commission. He was appointed by Ronald Reagan to do that, and he stayed around, and he'd always come back and visit here. He was always around. He'd come back a couple times a year to visit the Marine Lab. And he was before he passed away, he was teaching over at Notre Dame. So really not too far away, but he came back quite a bit. He donated a lot of money to keep this going. And we still get some money from other people. We're always taking donations. We need it. We don't. We have some funds that we can draw from, but we depend a lot on donations from alums. All right. So the specialization. I guess I'm not going to get into the details of the specialization, but it's easily doable in about 4 years or so. So one of the things in the lab, I guess some of my philosophy is I have these guys teach other people. So there's a whole hierarchy in the lab. There's me, and then there's usually a head coordinator, who this semester is Dale Allen. He couldn't be here today. Under him, there's 3 other coordinators. Katie's one of those coordinators. And then under those are about 4 people. There's 16 more coordinators, and under them, which these guys, and then under them is like another 40 or so people, and they all teach each other. So the new people they have somebody that they can come to, and that'll teach them how to do various things. So usually the students that come in, sometimes they'll have a lot of knowledge of advanced aquariums, and they'll advance a little quicker to larger systems and reef tanks or whatever. Or some people will start off, most people, they don't know anything about aquariums, so they'll start off as one of the easier tanks with cichlids or something they're not going to kill, and then kind of graduate up from there. So they do a lot of teaching each other, and they do everything to keep the lab running and functioning. They fill the vats, they maintain the testing and cleaning stations and the feeding stations and everything else to keep, they treat the animals when they're sick. They have to go through euthanasia training before they can euthanize fish. Some of the courses we offer here, one is the Introduction to Inland Marine Research. It's sort of an introduction to the Marine Lab and the Marine Biology program. There is also an orientation for freshmen. They take a 1 credit hour class. But this one, it's sort of, it's a class I teach, and we basically talk about basic aquarium husbandry, how to manipulate some conditions in your aquariums and not kill your fish if you're going to go on to do research. We have a field trip that we used to do it every other year. And I used to go to the Outer Banks of North Carolina because I have a lot of experience and a lot of people in that area. The last, I don't know, 6 years or so, I went to Gulf Coast Research Lab in it's part of the University of Southern Mississippi. They have we have a consortium agreement with them, so our students can go down there, take their classes and their BGSU credits. They're not transfer credits. They're just, so they can go down there and take shark biology and whale and dolphin stuff. There's a lot of whales, a lot of dolphins down there, so people like those classes. And they're BGSU credits, they're not transfer credits. We have an aquarium husbandry course, so usually the way that I like it, the way it was designed originally, so after people do the Inland Marine Research course, if they want to stay around the Marine Lab and work on some projects, they can continue to do that, doing aquarium husbandry. These people are more involved with the filling of the vats and all the stuff that keeps the lab running, as well as they have their own aquarium in the lab. The tours class, so we have a lot of school groups that want to see the lab, and so every Thursday morning I reserve. Actually, when I first started here, it was chaos. I had all these groups that wanted to come in, and I was like, hey, okay, I'll show you the Marine Lab, and they would show up, and there'd be like 90 kids, and I'm trying to figure out how to get them all through there. So what I did is I contacted the director of our herpetarium, which we have a reptile lab, just like the Marine Lab over there. We have a greenhouse, we have an electron microscope. And so I basically made a flyer and said, all right, you guys are all part of this biological learning environment, and we're going to give tours of school groups. So these school groups come to this room, we bring our reptiles in, show them, they get to pet snakes and lizards and stuff. Then we show them the Marine Lab. Usually these guys will do that. We'll show them the Marine Lab, take them out to the greenhouse, and some groups will see the electron microscope. But that's been, we were just overwhelmed with people that want to get in here and do that. So, and we work a lot with the school groups around here. A lot of them actually know Cindy Stong from stuff from way back when. A lot of the teachers, they took courses that she offered called Ocean Focus, and they developed these Ocean Focus programs in their high schools, and they still bring their school groups out here. So we work a lot with the schools around, and some of them will drive quite, an hour, sometimes hour and a half to get here. Let's see, some of the others. We have the Reef Aquarium. This is a 1 credit hour course that I used to offer. And we did this for several years, and we focused a lot of our attention on the reef aquariums. I haven't done it probably 5 years. I don't know. There's people that did it in independent reading. But I'm going to start doing it again actually in the fall. It's going to be a freshman only class. So I want to try to get some of these people interested in the reef aquarium and spend more time with those, propagating corals. Working on some of our, all the sinularia up there you see is all genetically identical from one piece that I brought here back in when I started, and I just kept cutting it and cutting it. In fact, at one time we had an infestation of sinularia. We were throwing it away. We had so much of it, it was ridiculous. But we cut it back quite a bit. But it makes a real nice research subject. You can take a bunch of these corals, chop them all up, put them into different aquariums with identical conditions, stress some of them, some feed. So some of the projects I've had students do is they'll feed some corals and not others and see if there's differences in growth rate. There was some concern a while back that sunscreen from sunbathers gets in the water and that could hurt corals. So we were looking at that, how was a sunscreen cause corals to bleach. So that's kind of the stuff that I'd like to start getting back into, probably starting in the fall. And these guys are going to have to help these freshmen get acclimated to the aquariums. The others, and there's a lot of other courses too that apply. So a lot of other people use the Marine Lab in various ways. We have an animal behavior class, and a lot of those people want to do some sort of animal behavior research project in there. We have an animal physiology. They use aplysia, these big purple. Do we have any aplysia left?
Yep.
Yeah, these big purple slug-looking things. Animal behavior uses, I mentioned that, and then there's others too. All right, so I mentioned that. Oh, for a while we were doing these. I was getting these grants from, we were doing these things with PBS. They'd basically come out and they would record us just talking, or actually it was filmed live and aired live on WBGU. And we had school groups lined up ahead of time. They'd be watching us. We would present our different animals, and then these kids would call us and ask us questions. Gulf Coast Research Lab. That's some of the classes they offer there. We have a lot of our students go there. Have any of you guys been there? Oh, yeah, that's right. You went on the field trip. But yeah, a number of students would like to go down there. It's all about sharks and dolphins. Oh, the Marine Biology Association. So we have a student organization on campus, and when when I first started here, it was actually the very first year I was here. I was trying to figure out ways that we could all go on trips together and visit aquariums, and I found out that we could have an organization. We fill out proper paperwork, and they'll give us a bunch of money. So we did that, and we started going to zoos and aquariums and visiting some of the alums all over the country, and they've continued to do that. I haven't really been too involved with them lately, but they have this spring break trip where they scuba dive in the Keys every year. They let's see, where else you guys go? Newport Aquarium. We have alums in all these places, but they'll go to the Shed Aquarium, the zoo, which we actually work a lot with the Toledo Zoo. I'm sure you guys are aware that Toledo Zoo does a new aquarium, right? Well, that new director, Jeff Saylor, when he started there, he came down and talked to us like within, I don't know, a few months after starting up there, and said, hey, I want to work with you guys, and send us interns in all areas, not just biology, but in all areas of the zoo. And we've been working with Jay Hemdall quite a bit before that, sending interns up to the aquarium. But we send interns up to help the architects with the design of the aquarium and filtration systems, helped them collect their new animals when they were trying to rebuild their collection. Our lab coordinator, Justin Grubb, last year's coordinator, is now up there as a biologist. And there's several others. One of our alums is Dennis Law is an aquarist up there. They just hired him. Let's see, what else did you guys do with the zoo?
In the Trinidad trip this
Oh yeah, they're
coming
there.
weekend
They're there
where
right now.
They're collecting and putting ants or invertebrates.
Oh, and that's where Dale is. I think Dale wanted to check with them.
Along
Yeah.
with some of our alums, they're helping them with sea turtle nesting in Trinidad, and then on top of that, collecting different invertebrates, insects and whatnot, just to kind of like help get a little bit more in their zoo.
They also had that collecting trip in the fall where they took students to collect tropical fish.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, to help. And yeah, hopefully they'll probably keep doing that. We're talking about a 4+1 master's program that we're going to collaborate with them. So, in other words, our undergraduates, or our students, they can take they can get a master's and a bachelor's in 5 years, basically. So 4 years working on their bachelor's and an extra year if we plan it right, do it right, where they just get to pick up a master's. We're not done with that. That's something that we're still working on, but it looks like that's probably going to happen probably in the next couple of years or less. All right. Terra Subaqua. Does anybody, do you guys know Tim Bernthal by any chance? This guy approached me when I first started here. He works up at the Andersons, and he basically said, "Hey, I leased this plot of land, you know, in the Keys, and I want to farm live rock." Okay. And he talked, he showed me what his operation is. And he came out and talked to our student organization and got everybody interested. And it really started to take off. But basically what he did is he took, and this is actually trial and error. First he took these pallets and he'd go up to northern Florida and he'd mine this, or buy this coquina rock, which is non-indigenous to the Keys. And then he would take the rock and put it on these pallets, and then a hurricane came and buried his rock completely. So he scrapped that idea. Instead, he took rebar and pounded it into the sand around this reef. Then he drilled holes in this coquina rock and stacked them up like that. And then he'd let them sit there for a year or two, and all of our Marine Biology Association, our Marine Biology Association, they'd go down there and help move his rocks around and stuff. And then he would harvest this stuff, and it was just incredible live rock, and it would have, all the corals you'd find in the Keys. They would be attached onto this stuff, and coralline algae and everything else. That it was really nice live rock, and he would provide this to us, and he'd give it to Toledo Zoo, and he would drive. Basically, he had all stops all along 75, where he would stop at different aquariums and research facilities and sell a lot of the rock. He gave us our rock because we had student helpers. But the obvious, what he was trying to do is he wants other people to get into this because, as you guys know, where they get live rock is they just dismantle reefs in other places around the world, and then aquarists buy them up, and because we need it for our corals. And he wants to. It's not the most ecologically sound practice. He wants to alleviate some of that by having other people use this kind of method, so they're not just taking, reefs apart. But there's some pictures in it. That's how the spring break trip started. He had some hang-ups a few years back, and do you guys still help him at all move the rocks?
I know they did it this year for their spring break trip, but the year before we did not. 2 years ago we did. So I think they still want our help on trying to help collect that. But if we do not get the opportunity, then we just kind of have a mini vacation and go scuba diving.
Yeah, they stay in a lab, and it's really cheap. They get like $10 a day.
$100 for a week. It's just to live down in the Keys, which is amazing.
So that's not too bad.
No.
So yeah, but Tim's he's been doing this for like 15 years now. But I'm sure maybe I could get him to in touch with you guys. I'm sure he'd love to meet some of you guys. So let's see. What else do I want to show you? Oh, all right, so we have undergrads. We also have graduate students too. We have a lot of aquatic labs in the building. So aquatic ecology is a big part of our master's and doctoral program. This is one of Mike McKay's students who basically his name's Nigel, and Nigel and I and another guy, an undergraduate, actually Jake Gravy, we drove out to Chicago and to the Shedd Aquarium, and we met these scientists that showed us how to put together an ROV. And basically, this is to help him with his doctorate. He took this little remotely operated robot, made out of PVC and different pumps, and had some collection devices on it. He went out with the Coast Guard on this icebreaker. They plowed out through the ice, dropped this thing into the water, and I have some pictures somewhere. He dropped it into the water, he drove it up under the ice and collected a bunch of samples. His dissertation was on algae that lives up underneath the ice. And then we had a number of students who were excited about that, and they wanted to build their own, so we wrote a grant and got them some money to build their own. And it's the monstrosity. You might have seen it in the hallway upstairs on the second floor across from the Marine Lab. All right. What else do we have here? Oh yeah, these are some of Mike McKay's pictures. Yeah, that's the ROV right there. All right, so, any questions? All right, so tell me about the club. I don't know a whole lot about you guys.
We started the club back in November, grown to about over 400 members. Hit about, we just hit 12,000 posts? 13. And just slowly growing. Trying to create trips. We have meetings every month.
And you said your next meeting is?
Next month, it'll be at BW3s here in BG.
Okay.
In the private. I don't remember the exact.
We're always looking for someone to give a little discourse. They don't have to come and give an hour presentation at any of the meetings. If they want to come and speak for 15 minutes, whatever will help them. But we're trying to not just inform people about the hobby side of it. We want to extend it to where people can make careers out of it. People can learn from them, and then we can learn from them. And if you don't share your resources with people, then nobody learns nothing. So
absolutely.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, that's what a lot of our students they want to do. They want to become aquarists and make a career out of it. So I'm sure that there's a lot of them that love to meet some of you guys.
Yeah, I've been speaking with Jay Hemnall as well at Toledo Zoo. We got a trip planned in May or June. And with a behind-the-scenes tour, and Chris from saltwatersmarts.com, he's a diver there as well. And we're getting a behind-the-scenes tour, and he's going to do a dive for us.